So now we are on the chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, and this chapter is named the Yoga of a Supreme Being, right? So in this chapter, Krishna starts with this metaphoric tree, which is upside down. So its roots are upward and its branches are downward, and it is being nourished by the gunas of nature, and its secondary roots coming out of the branch is being established based on the it's in all over the place and being established based on the action of the humans, actions of the man, right? And this tree has no beginning, no end, and no existence. It doesn't exist in reality, and it is not perceptible. It's not very perceptible. And then he makes a suggestion: cut this tree down with the firm axe of detachment, right? So very interesting metaphor. Upside down tree is we are getting more and more entangled. The more we act out of attachment, the more firmly it gets established, the more it gets nourished, and the more fruit it brings, right? And the Krishna is suggesting cut it down. It is going in the wrong direction, right? The more you nourish, the more you are going to get entangled into it, and you can cut it down with the detachment, right? Okay, so practically this tree, this aswastha tree that he was describing, we have grown this tree of desire inside ourselves based on our attachments, right? And this tree is bringing fruits now, and the fruits is like we are getting more and more entangled, we are feeling dissatisfied, we are feeling confused, we are feeling entangled, and it has no beginning, it has no end, it has no existence. At the same time, it has a very firm roots, right? And it just makes us more and more dissatisfied. The more we act, the more it grows and the more fruit it brings, right? So for example, for a concrete example, let's say I had an experience. When I was a child, I had an experience. Somebody praised me and I felt good, and I get attached to that feeling, right? That attachment to that feeling is like a branch in this tree, right? I get attached to this feeling. Now this branch has grown, which represent like now I just don't want to experience life or nature anymore. I want to get the praise, and I want to avoid the criticism, right? That's like a branch of a tree, this tree of desire. And like that, I have thousands and thousands of branches, right? And these branches are now bringing fruit. So I cannot just experience the life anymore in the present moment, but these different desire and urges that keep coming, and it's not so much directly visible. We just feel this, right? We feel uncomfortable in some scenarios, we feel comfortable in some other scenarios. Sometimes we just feel down, sometimes we are just feel depressed, sometimes it's just like we are feeling different emotions and different stuff without no reason. But it's not without any reason, but it's the fruits of this tree that we have firmly established in ourselves, right? And he's saying we can cut it down with the acts of detachment, right? The detachment is just opposite of attachment. Instead of with a knowledge, he has talked about this thing before also, right? With something like meditation and just seeing how this process is working and what it is doing to us, and with this knowledge we can cultivate this sense of detachment, that it is actually not good for me, right? It is actually hurting me. The more I nourish this tree, the more dissatisfied I become, right? So in that sense, we can cultivate this sense of detachment from this tree, and slowly we can cut the root, the firmly established root of this tree, right? And once you cut the root down, then he says, then you should look for a place which is the refuge for you, and from where you go, you don't come back, right? So he's basically saying the self-realization here, right? So once you have cut down this tree of desire, you should look for the self-realization, right? And then establish there, instead of getting established into the entanglement of this tree of desires, right? Then he says, so this experiencer, this self, is basically a fragment of me. So he's talking about the yoga of Supreme Being. The yoga of is basically projecting that I am the source of everything here, right? So from that standpoint, he's saying the fragment of this experiencer inside the human's body or whatever, this self, this being, is a fragment of me, right? It's just a fragment of me. Another fragment is like the brilliance of sun or your digestive fire. So this is all just manifestation of me. These are all things are I am the subtler aspect behind everything, and I am the sustainer and the source of everything, right? So he has gone even more deeper here, and he's saying whatever is you know, and he has made these assertions before also, that basically everything is coming out of me, right? I am the source of everything else. Whether it's a brilliance of sun, or whether it's digestive power of your stomach, or whether it's the experiencer, right? Realize this thing, and of course it's in other Upanishads and all is being said clearly, like this self that is being taught here is basically yourself, Tattvamasi. So it's basically being talked about yourself, but Krishna is going more into the more granular form, one by one, getting deeper and deeper. And then he says, once somebody knows me doubtlessly, then he get devoted to me permanently, right? And the person who is established in the yoga can actually see this process happening, see this self as well as this process of attachment and the creation of this tree. On the other hand, the person who is not established cannot actually see this.